Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Travelers Season 3, episode... it's episode 3.
Yes.
Of
You were going to
this,
say season one.
I was going to say Season 1. Well, this heavily ties into a Season 1 episode, which was Season 1, Episode 3, and I was thinking about that as I was saying it, and I got stumbled. So,
Yeah.
there you go. But hey, so yeah, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And this episode starts with like a weird, like, did we miss something kind of feeling to it, because it starts
Did.
with like Mac wakes up, he goes to see Marcy, and she's tinkering with him, and he's like, oh, it's just this residual stuff from the plane crash, back in season 1. Your neck's kind of injured, it'll get better over time, but you'll be fine, blah blah. But then she calls, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, it was Philip or maybe Trevor, but she's like,
Yeah.
oh, he was here, and it's like, okay, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's
They've
fishy
done
here.
something. Yeah.
And I'm like, time is missing, and I actually thought it was to do with the cliffhanger with Jeff. Like, did he like kill Jeff or something? And they tried to like cover it up, like including with him. And of course, obviously, that was not what it was once it gets going. But he actually very quickly goes and finds out from one of the other travelers. Is like, no, someone wiped your memory. Like,
Yeah.
the drug was used on you. But what's interesting is once he starts like retracing his steps, seeing where his car went. Very quickly when we're cutting around to the other characters, they seem to expect that he's going to figure it out. That
Yeah.
very quickly, like Trevor's like, yeah, I knew.
Told you this wouldn't work.
Yeah, but did you
Yeah.
know it wouldn't work this quickly? Is the line that's used,
Yeah.
and it's like that's interesting, and it makes sense at the end because we find out that it was Mac himself who wanted it.
I was kind of expecting that from
Yeah.
that point on, to be honest. I was like, okay, they wouldn't have bothered trying this
Yeah.
if it wasn't something he's made the call to do.
Because this episode kind of does that thing, although normally a TV show will do it just in the opening scene where it's like, okay, here's a thing you don't understand, okay, 30 hours earlier or whatever, right? It does this about halfway through.
Yeah.
But the reason why this works is because we're with Mac the whole time, where we want to know what happened, and he doesn't know, so he's
Yeah,
investigating
we're
it.
going through, we're seeing him do all these things, like, digging at the dirt.
Yeah,
It's like, what happened here?
finding a body, finding shell casings for the gun, and so on.
It's when he pulls his own clip out and checks. It's like, yep, it's one of mine.
Yeah. And then they catch up with them, and of course there's those little things going on here. There, Carly's watching clearly the new parents for her son, and so on. There's not a lot of supporting cast in this. There's no Kat. There's no David.
John is interesting to me about this episode structurally in terms of the way it's written. Is this still feels like a weekly broadcast show?
It does. Not in a bad way, just in the sense that they're very focused episodes.
Yeah, in the sense that, okay, clearly sometimes pass between episodes. This is the focus this week, almost, and it's what we were used to for the first two seasons. So this is clearly not a criticism because we like these seasons.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't change their style, because it felt weird if all of a sudden.
No, I agree, but
Yeah.
I think in the back of my head there was just an expectation that it might shift more to a Netflix style. That
said, let's say there was going to be like an event season, right? Let's say like season 4. The whole conceit of season 4 is that it was like a season of 24, right? Everything takes place in a day, but going into it, they were writing for that because they wanted, because whatever's going to happen in this day is like a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like stopping the asteroid in season 1. It was everything revolves around this one event in season 4, and I wouldn't be against that as a concept, but that's the extreme, and that's like them planning for.
Oh, it is, yeah. But I'm not saying they should go that far. I think it only really occurred to me when I was watching this episode that I was surprised that they kept it feeling exactly the same in terms of the pacing between episodes.
Yeah. Some time has passed, and so the gang all kind of like they're following them from a distance, and they go into the woods with them and say, hey, like Mac, it's not what you think, and that's when we go back 30 hours, 32 hours, whatever it was.
I think it was like 31 something, because it was really specific.
Yeah, really specific. It's when Trevor wakes up and he's just getting up for a piss and just kind of stumbling around as you do when you're kind of still half asleep. And he kicks
especially in somewhere that you're not necessarily used to sleeping all the time.
Yeah. And he kicks a syringe, because one of the things we see in the sort of present day section is that Philip's at a meeting. He's at an addiction meeting. And it's like, wait, we've not seen him relapse recently.
Yeah.
What's happening? And there's a really interesting scene there where this random guy, because Marcy's with them for support, and she mentions she's a doctor, and this guy just gives her shit for it. He's like, you look 25, you can't be a doctor. Well, yeah, I'm an astronaut.
He's like, oh, you write prescriptions here. She's like, well, no, I'm a surgeon. He's like, nah, F off.
And we know she is, obviously. We know she's telling the truth. Yeah. But then she throws it kind of back and she's like, yeah, I'm a doctor. That's why I can tell you're high right now, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they when they find, like, you know, Philip lying on the floor and he's OD'd, and they have to, you know, Marcy's rushing over. This seems to have happened because he got a mission. Yeah. And it's a mission related to something that happened in season 1. And, you know, I did look up a recap of this episode to remind myself of some of the exact details of what went down. But I remember the kid. I remember the core choice, or the core conceit being that Philip gave them a mission that they never actually got. He just basically made one up to save this kid. And I go, of course, Protocol 3. I imagine that was the episode we kind of learned what Protocol 3 really was, which is don't interfere.
Probably was, yeah.
Don't save or kill anyone that's not supposed to be saved or killed. And this mission is to kill this kid. And I like that the episode, because when I went back and checked the recap of the episode to remind myself of what happened, that was the episode where Philip's, like, addiction really became a thing. Where everyone else found out about it. Where Mac found out that his previous host was addicted to heroin. No one else really knew. Maybe Marcy knew, but everyone else didn't at that point until the end of that episode. And they and they were told to not save the kid. The kid got a message through him and said, "No, abort this mission. Do not save this kid." And they did it anyway. You know, they made the moral choice. And I'm sure we talked at the time about the moral implications of this and why they should do this despite they've been told not to. So flash forward to this. I like the idea that something that makes him relapse this bad is this choice that he made. And it's, like, based on what he did.
And it's like, hey, you really shouldn't have saved that kid.
Yeah. Because, you know, the kid's going to do some really bad things. And as they're going around, you know, in the 30, you know, the previous part of the timeline, by the way, I laughed a lot, actually, when Marcy said we can't change the past. And, like, you know, I guess Philip
almost immediately she was like, you know what I meant.
Yeah, you know what I meant. Shut up.
Yeah.
But, you know, we see them go and investigate the foster home, which again was teased in the present day stuff and so on. But we see that, you know, everyone kind of hates this kid. They all think he's weird.
Yeah, there was bits like when Max retracing Stephanie gets to the diner, and the guy was like, "Look, all right, sorry about yesterday. Oh, have some coffee on me. I'll let you eat here." It's just that kid.
Mm.
And then we're like, "What the hell?"
The older kids, like, "Oh, you know, don't tell him I told you where he is because I don't want to get, like, a dead squirrel in my pillow, you know, when I wake up."
Yeah.
And it's like, man, this guy's going to be like a mass murderer, you know, like this is all, like, creepy Ed Gein, like, in the making shit that's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mac, like, Trevor comes with him for a lot of this stuff, but Mac, ultimately, when they get out of the woods after they can't get into the diner, Mac says, no, you wait behind. And they know that he has to be killed at 3 p.m. So everyone's kind of, like, watching the clock. They all know what's going to happen. But I like how there's this, like, general shared weight to everyone where they know they're having to kill a kid, and this is kind of dark.
Shitty, yeah.
Despite who he's going to be. And it comes into this question of, like, okay, we know he's going to do bad things, and that kind of justifies it to a point, but it's like, if you know exactly, because obviously he's been, you know, we hear on the episode that he's been thrown around the foster home system, where he's been going from home to home, he's not been able to settle down, and it's like, but if we know exactly what he's going to become, can we, because one of the things we always talk about, of course, with mass shootings and things like that, is mental illness, and, like, can we stop this through you know, therapy and medication and you know, diagnosing the problem early enough, and, you know, through healing people, and
this has that fantastic irony of hindsight.
Yeah, it's like, you know, given they know what he's going to do, is that the correct, rather than the director saying, hey, shoot this kid, is the better choice saying, no, since we know, can we give him therapy? Can we try and help him? Can we alter his course by giving him a better upbringing from this point on?
Yeah, but it's interesting that they don't necessarily actively try that. They're like, right, I guess that's the mission. We kind of just have to do it.
And I think it works because this is... See, if this was, like, just, like, a random kid, I think that would maybe come up. But because it's someone that they actively went against the orders before...
Yeah. And it also comes back into what seems to be the season's theme of the circular logic of them affecting their own futures.
Yeah, and and Philip even says, I saved that kid, even knowing, because he actually admits to the others that he gets updates, which they're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I get updates, and Carly's like, wait, so you might know how we die then, technically.
Yeah, and she's like, that's why you stopped me killing Jeff.
Yeah, which was a big thing last season,
It was
obviously.
a great moment.
It was great. But it was great for multiple reasons. It was great because he knew something bad would happen. It was great because it was stopping her from crossing this line. There was lots of elements
Yeah.
that made that great. But um, so this is all interesting. But the fascinating thing about this episode, though, is Max with him. He eats. Do you know what I love? I love when shows will geniusly like insert something to remind us of a fact without it feeling like it's a reminder, and it doesn't feel clunky.
Which
Last
one are you referring to?
episode, he was eating the veggies in the car, and
Yeah.
it really emphasized. It reminded us, no, he's full on vegan. He doesn't eat meat
Yeah.
because
It's just the first time this season it was relevant, right?
yeah. And in this episode, the kid like has traps set up to catch animals. And it doesn't seem super. I mean, it's a little bit weird that a kid's doing this, but it's not super creepy in and of itself because he seems upset that a coyote's been killed, and
Yeah, no,
it's
he's
hurting.
like, oh, hey, rabbit, dinner. He seems,
Yeah,
and he's eating it. I
yeah.
got no problem with this.
He cooks it, eats it. Yeah, it's a little bit weird that a kid's doing this on his own, but there's nothing sadistic yet.
Yeah, but he talks about how he was taught to do these
Yeah,
things, right? And it's like a connection thing for him,
yeah.
I think.
You can definitely see like how this leads to like his path.
Yes,
Yeah,
but on its own, I don't. It's not necessarily a problem.
and someone can remember if in episode 3, season 1, if they told us specifically what he does. I don't remember them doing that. If they did, and we are like discussing, what his exact
Yeah,
future
it's been a
frame
couple of
is,
years.
by all means, remind us in the comments and let us know. But so and they sit and Mac actually sits down with them and says he's impressed with his skills with the traps and that, and he eats some of the rabbit. And what I love about this moment is that they don't make a big deal about it, but he kind of hesitates and eats it, and he takes a second bite, and he has the joke line where he says it's the best rabbit he's ever had. It's the only rabbit he's ever had.
Yeah, but
Um,
he doesn't make a point of mentioning to the kid that he shouldn't be eating this
no,
or
no,
anything like that. He just does it.
he sucks it up because he understands that the kids, because it's the same thing he says to the diner guy, right, the owner of the restaurant, is he says you've never felt true hunger because obviously in the future there's a lot of famine and things. You've never felt true hunger. You never understood and he understands that this kid is doing this kind of out of necessity. That he can't just go to this restaurant anymore. He's kind of been ostracized by everyone around him, so he's become like just a hunter gatherer in the woods.
Yeah, and he knows that clearly the kid is missing a parent figure of any
Yeah.
kind. So it's like no, him going along with this, he kind of knows that no, it's the right thing to do.
And he sympathizes with them, and he understands that he's eating this not out of spite, but out of because it's what's there to eat. It's he's in a traditional hunting sense, you do it because you need
Yeah,
sustenance.
and I don't think anyone in the future that they have a problem with that. I think if it was available to them and it's like, no, this is
Oh
all we
yeah,
had in the future, they'd have been eating it.
oh yeah, yeah. I think all the implications we've had in the past have been that there's just no meat around because there's no animals to have.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and he eats it, and I actually laughed because I've never had rabbit, so I was like, oh, Max had more rabbit than I have.
I've had rabbit. It's kind of stringy.
Yeah, I've never had rabbit. I've probably been in a restaurant where it's been an option, but I've just never.
It's okay. It's a little bit bland, but a bit stringy. But I mean,
Hey, if I'm starving,
right.
I'm sure it'll do.
yeah, it's all right. It would never be my first choice of meat, is all I'm saying. But if it's there, I'll eat it.
I think bunnies are just too close to a pet, right? Because some people actually obviously have them as pets, but
Yeah.
they're too close to household animals to want to be eaten. I think for most people,
No,
they're
fair
too
enough.
cute. They're too cute. That's the thing. If they're cute, then you feel like, nah, you know what?
Yeah, it doesn't stop people eating lambs, though, does it?
Lambs aren't that cute.
Ugh, the internet disagrees.
Lambs aren't that cute. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
I mean, compared to a rabbit, like a bunny rabbit, you're probably right. But compared to like a cow,
okay, sure. Yes, they're cuter than a cow.
it's all relative.
Yeah, I'd say a pig's cuter than a cow as well. To be honest,
Probably.
if you clean a pig up, if it's not covered in mud, a pig's
They
not
look
that.
tasty, is what they look.
Anyway, we're upsetting every single vegetarian or
We
vegan
are.
who's
We
possibly
are.
watching this, because we're just salivating at the thought of cooking the pig.
But bacon.
Bacon's nice.
Yeah, it
I have to
is.
admit, I do prefer cow. I like the beef.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a good steak over pretty much anything else.
Steak, burger, all these
Yeah,
things.
but bacon.
Bacon's nice. Yeah, I can't deny.
Yeah.
Also, sausage as well.
Yeah, don't overlook the sausage.
Let's
But
not discount the
the
sausage.
sausage is just okay. Here's all the shit bit left over, and well that'll do. Whereas, it's no prime cut.
Anyway, so yeah, Max, it's the thing, and it's they're burying the coyote, and they dig this thing, and he says a little prayer, and this is what they said at his mum's funeral, and he says this little prayer, and Mac, the clock's getting there, and he's almost at 3 o'clock, and he's got the gun out, he's going to shoot him, and this is when it, I think it cuts to the present day stuff first, and we just hear them say, "No, you didn't do it. You didn't do it, Mac." And then we see what happened, and the director, sent another message to the kid, and said, "Abort the mission." And then it gets to this thing where they don't know why for sure the director cancelled it, but Philip's got a theory that this time with Mac actually changed the course of his destiny, his future. That by spending time with a good person who stood up for him and actually cared about him for just one day, actually was enough that maybe he ended up better than what he was.
Yeah, and they go and put him in a different foster home, with people who seem to give a shit. Because, I mean, early on we find out this foster home's kind of shit. We go to the school, and the teacher's like, no, they don't care whether he goes to school or not.
Yeah, he's not nurtured. He's not being nurtured by these people. And
they give him a house, but that's about it.
And they kind of, Philip kind of theorizes, he's sitting with Trevor, and he kind of hates that, why didn't we try and fix his future first rather than try and kill him? Why wasn't the first thing? And Trevor kind of is like, well, there's so many possibilities, and the director's trying to figure them all out. Like, what if there was no way to know for sure how it would work, but this was the thing that might have worked? It's like because in the future perspective, he can have him be, have Max spend this day with them, cancel it, and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then he can, he can just send him another mission for the next day.
Yeah,
go kill him. But there's kind of a heart to this story in a weird way, that it's kind of like this circular thing can actually be beneficial as well.
It very much feels like that is the theme of this season, is their actions affecting their own future course.
Yeah, I definitely. I think the fact that they brought back a very early season 1 story and had like the ramifications of it popping up now is the best way to kind of show that. It's like, everything they've been doing since they got here.
Obviously, Yates brought it up at the end of the last episode, and it felt like, okay, that's an idea, but now with this one following on from that, it feels like, no, that's a statement of what this season is.
Yeah, it was some actually really good filmmaking and a couple of scenes in this episode. I really liked the car ride to the woods. Felt like it was like a the last ride kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was a wide shot.
One of those shots that I loved was right at the end of that conversation between Philip and John.
I know we're going to say it's through the window at the top.
Through the window, just in the corner.
Just to show how small they feel, like, surrounded by everything else, and they're in this little box.
Yeah, and everything's above them, and they're just kind of down in the corner. That was a great shot.
And I wonder if part of this as well is the idea that the director has a conscience, actually cares and wants to do the right thing if it can.
Maybe. We've speculated a lot about the director, haven't we?
And it's funny because I wonder if the director itself intermingling with this other AI, because we're going to talk about this final scene, I wonder if that also has an effect where it might accidentally create Skynet by interacting with this AI.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because Elsa, it's basically like, because the guy's doing this test on her. I say her because
diagnostic,
yeah. And he's like, "Hey, stop! There's some weird things in the code here. What's going on?"
And she's just like, "No, there's not.
No, things are better. I've improved. I've evolved."
And it's just like, oh shit.
And it's like, did the director, sending a message through her multiple times, did that, unlock potential?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did they make a baby essentially because their code intermingled? And
was it intentional or unintentional?
is it almost more interesting if it's unintentional and the director made a mistake?
It could be, but
I
on the
don't know.
same side,
But
if it's intentional, it's like, right, why is it trying to essentially plant a version of itself in the past to this extent?
see, I wonder if we get into some weird loops thing here where, like, does this become the director and only exists because the
Yeah,
director went back and spoke to it? But then that goes against all the time travel rules that we've had up until this point.
yeah, it doesn't seem to track with what we had before
D-
because
d-
you needed the material from
But
the meteor.
if this essentially makes a different version of the director that exists prior to what the director was supposed to exist, then do we
Is the
have, like,
director necessary at that point?
or do we have two directors? For lack of a better term, in the future, do we have the director plus Elsa, or
Yeah,
does Elsa start the faction? Is that the faction's director?
could be. Yeah,
Oh, that's an idea that they've got their own computer that's. Oh,
telling them. Yeah, which kind of seems counter to the faction's ideology
this
of
is
no, no,
true.
no.
Yeah.
We don't want to be just told what to do by a machine.
What if they
We
don't
want to
know they've
think
been
for
told by a
ourselves.
machine though? What if that's the whole thing? Is that it's secretly telling them what to do, but without them knowing it's a computer that's giving the orders?
Could be, could be. Oh, this is so interesting.
They've opened a can of worms with this little scene at the end here.
Travelers does this all the time, doesn't it?
It-
Though it'll just do like one little scene. You're like, God damn it, the potential.
It's actually one of the most impressive things about the show is that they're still doing it 3 seasons in, where it's not, because I don't feel like it's collapsing under the weight of all of its ideas. It feels like it's very naturally just posing these questions.
It's still propped up on its core ideas from the start of the show. Yeah, the
Yeah.
core rules, and it's just expanded out and out. But that core scaffolding is strong enough to hold it.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
that may vary
It
person
could
to
get
person,
worse. Yeah,
but at least for us, this is still holding up quite well.
yeah.
I think thematically, I like this episode a lot. I like the questions it was posing. Both, and even just for a character episode, the idea that Mac is this good person, that his influence for one day gave this result,
Yeah.
is fascinating. And even the little scene, because at the bar with Carly, because Carly gave the old toy back to Jeff. She's kind of saying goodbye to the kid, which is kind of nice in a way, because it's like, oh, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, Carly, it's a thing in the past, but it was a nice sort of final little moment for her, and them sort of sitting and going, because they kind of like are talking about the fact that their relationship in the first place was kind of forbidden, and then they came here and they kind of kept it going for a little bit, but it was never really meant to be a thing. It was,
Just because they could almost.
and I think what was really fascinating to me was the way she sort of talked about him and how she still recognizes him in there sometimes, but it's not completely him anymore. Like, there's a little bit of something else. And
Yeah, it's we've spoken about this over the past couple seasons. The idea that their hosts,
influenced them in some way.
obviously, Mac cares about Kat, and his FBI work to some
Yeah,
extent.
Carly cares about young Jeffrey.
Yeah, exactly. And down to the more physical responses of Philip and his addiction.
Yeah.
There's absolutely an influence from the hosts that is left over that has changed them all.
Yeah. So, no, it's just fascinating stuff. So, really focused episode, really tight episode.
Yeah.
Very, very little to complain about. I thought the filmmaking was some of the best it's had, and it told this great story that had really intriguing ideas coming out of it, both in terms of the science fiction, but also in terms of just the morality of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. So, full points, Travelers. You've done it. You've done it.
Firing on all cylinders.
Yes. All 6 of the protocols. Is it only 6? I think it's 6.
I mean, there might be only 6.
Could be more. Could be infinite protocols. We just don't know about the rest. No, I think it's
Yeah,
only
there's
6.
just these are the important ones.
Yeah. So there you go. That is Travelers episode 3 of season 3. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Look out for the next one the day after tomorrow, if not sooner. But that is the planned schedule for these, is every other day. So look forward to the next one. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. Get us on the Patreon at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here. You can also do that by liking, subscribing, all that usual jazz. But that is us. So thank you very much once again. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?